Helder, the mentor, is your man. With Helder.
Leila Filipe.
Anybody who can listen to him, work with him, learn from him, it's going to change their life.
Leila Filipe. Remarkable. Absolutely remarkable.
The Hilbert operates from the heart.
I need focus and my confidence back. Helder just showed me all of those things that I didn't even realize I was lacking.
Who else here, and how many of you think and realize that you're really good at something? Here, raise your hand. Very good. Do you consider that you have invested a significant amount of time and money to become good at what you are? I want to eliminate the frustration that you have with simple 3 steps so you can speak, impact, and monetize.
If you ever had a bad day, just pull this guy. Not only is he going to lift up your spirits.
Very good. So we're live today, Saturday. It's June 28th, right? Very good. And we have a very special episode today, very special edition of this Communicate to Monetize show, because I have a very, very, very special guest here. In a minute, you're going to have the opportunity to get to meet her. And because she's going to be actually the one introducing herself, I cannot talk about her experience and everything. So I want to welcome everyone, and I want you to please help me welcome, as I said, someone very special, but she's not here today as my wife. She's here as a business executive, as a professional, someone who's actually coming to add significant value, to talk to us about her experience of, if I'm not mistaken, 20 plus years, dealing with customers, dealing with different, types of people, and, actually adding value in order to help the business to grow. So with that being said, please help me welcome the lovely Leila Filipe. Leila, how you doing? It's kind of weird for me, to call you Leila, but we have to do it anyway. Even though you're my wife for life,
Hello,
right?
Everyone. How are you, Elder? And it's weird for me to call you Elder as well. So,
It is what it is, right? We have to do it. So welcome to the, finally, right? Welcome to the Communicate to Monetize show.
That's this invite. Thank you for inviting me.
Really? You've been invited before. You just didn't have the time, right?
I know. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So welcome to our Communicate to Monetize show. How are you doing today? Tell me and tell everyone here.
I am great. Thank you so much for asking. I am happy. I'm healthy, and life is good. So can't complain.
Wow.
Thank you for asking.
I love that. I love that. So I think everybody's actually anxious, curious to learn more about you, to know who you are. And I'm going to show a little bit of the flyer we have here. So everybody is actually aware of what we're talking about here. It's a customer service strategies for business growth. But before, because I always tell people when I'm mentoring them that before you became the professional that you are a human being. You're a person, right? So we want to know about you, your personal side. Who are you, Leila?
All right. Well, that's the $1 million question.
Oh, yeah.
Who is Leila Filipe? Leila, my personal life. Leila is a mother. Leila is a wife.
Really?
Leila is a sister. I have a lot of siblings.
Okay.
And Leila is just a down-to-earth person that loves life, loves her family, and yes, that's pretty much what Leila is.
Good.
That's my personal life. That's what you're asking for.
Great. And by the way, exceptionally today, we are live in 3 different platforms. We are live on the YouTube channel, Helder the Mentor. If you haven't yet so far, please subscribe if you're watching like this live session, or if you're going to watch the replay. And we are also live on Facebook and LinkedIn. My Facebook and LinkedIn, Helder Filipe. So based on your very solid experience, why do you think that the customer service is mission critical for the business growth, like based on your experience, in your own words?
Well, I think customer service is very extremely important to everything that we do in life because you don't for you to be in a customer service setting,
Right.
basically it's everywhere. It starts at home, your customer service skills, all right?
Okay.
So customer service is how you do anything pretty much. We are not alone in this earth. On this earth, we have to deal with people. So that is having customer service. Everyone is your customer at the end of the day. It could be like your family member, like your kids, your wife, your husband, that is always going to be, it's always a customer service setting. So that is where it starts. It starts at home, and then you bring it to your business.
Yeah.
So, and in your business, no matter what you do, no matter where you are, no matter what kind of business it is, there's always customer service included in that. So if it starts at home, and then you go to your workplace, I would say it could be dealing with customers, paying customers. It could be dealing with your colleagues, your coworkers. Those are also customers. So customer service is extremely important in no matter what the circumstances.
Very good. Very good. So with that being said, like during along your experience, of all these years, and if I know you've worked for different companies where you actually managed to add significant value, like we talking companies like and in different continents, right? Right now we're here in Canada, but I know you've worked in Angola. But I want you to talk about the cultural side of things. Like what I mean is, yeah, you actually deal with a lot of customers, but did you ever like experience like some sort of like different customers because of the cultural side of things?
Definitely.
Okay.
The way we are raised is also going to determine like what kind of customers we are going to be. So like you said, I have worked in Canada most of my life. My first job I was 15. That's why I still have like 20 years. I'm not that old. But my first job in Canada was at a fast food restaurant.
Good.
And just the dynamic of it is very different. And then I go to Angola, and when I was in Angola, I had to deal with a different type of customer. So there's a lot of getting used to it. Again, it goes back to what I said. The way you're raised is also going to determine what kind of customer you're going to be, what kind of customer you're going to be dealing with.
Okay.
Cultural reasons, because there are people that they order something. Well, I guess that's respect, not really cultural. If you order something, you don't even say thank you. You have to deal with that. And then sometimes you, as like the one providing the service, you can get offended. So you really have to know the balance, and you have to know what the balance is, where people are coming from. And one of the things that I learned, one of the main things that I've learned over this past 20 years is that do not take it personal, please. Yes, whatever it is, don't take it personal. It is what it is at the end of the day.
Okay. Even like when dealing with the very like difficult customers, like customers who just drop you like objections, stuff like that. What do you recommend for like someone actually working as a customer service agent, or someone who just deals with customers? What do you recommend based on your experience? I know it's a solid experience. What do you recommend as strategies in order to deal with this difficult customers?
Well, I actually have a strategy for that. So I'm gonna break it down a little bit, okay?
Right.
So the first thing is staying calm.
Okay.
So you have to remain calm with the interaction, because if you have two people arguing, two people that are upset, then you're not going to go anywhere. So the first thing is going to be staying calm. The second thing is you need to have active listening. Really listening. I think I learned this from you, not hearing what to answer, but hearing what the person is actually saying.
Yeah.
Right. So because sometimes when people trying to tell us something, we already kind of like, oh, I don't know, I already know what he or she's talking about. And then we start making up these things in our minds. But in reality, that's not what the person is saying. So you need to be active listening for you to fully comprehend what the other person is saying. And play it, like you also need to like pay close attention to the tone.
Okay.
If the person is very angry, you also like don't raise your voice. Like you need to meet the person, like bring it down. The person will then deter, like they will realize that they're also speaking very loud. So you need to do that. And then another thing is you need to communicate with professionalism. So
Right.
you need to be a professional, right?
Right.
You can't just use any type of language when you're dealing with a customer. You can't just say whatever comes to your mind. You need to make sure that you are using professionalism when you're dealing with a customer. And one thing that is also very important is empathy.
Right.
You need to have empathy. Whether you think the person is right or wrong, you need to have empathy. Because if you don't have empathy, that actually speaks louder about who you are as a person when you show empathy than the other person. And then that I think that's pretty much it. So you need to be very clear communication. You need to be professional. You need to
Right.
be calm, and you obviously need to have empathy. That is how you deal with a very irate customer, I would say.
Would you say that it's a fair like statement if I said that two main important and very important aspects: the mindset of the person dealing with the customers, and the same person's like communication skills. Because when I talk about communication skills, it's like not only what you say, but the way you actually listen to them and the way you actually manage to overcome the objections. Because usually customers just throw objections like out of nowhere. Is that right?
Exactly.
Good.
Yes, yes, yeah.
So the thing about it is that from my experience, I'm not sure about yours. I mean, like when if for business to grow, you know, like the first point of contact, usually like the customer service, customer success, wherever the name they want to actually give to it. But the thing is like this first contact with the business, how important in your experience is to make sure that the person dealing with the customer is the first point of contact? Because let's remember, the person who dealing with the customers, that person is actually ultimately representing the company, the business, in the first place,
Exactly.
right? So how important is it for you, like in your experience, because you have been dealing with that for many years, right? So how important and potentially critical is it that we have to make sure that that person is really prepared, is really trained to deal with customers at that level?
Um, okay, so your customer is who is going to be making your business, right? So basically, if you don't have a customer, no matter what business it is, if you don't have a customer, you basically don't have business.
Right.
Right? So basically, you have to make sure that your team's mindset, the way they're prepared, there has to be like a continuous preparation every so often. You have to make sure that that's why I feel like it's very important for mentors to be going into business and actually talking to the staff, talking
Exactly.
to the, talking to people so that they understand that building a very strong, customer service to base for your company to grow. It's not just about resolving a problem.
All
It's
right.
actually, it's not just about resolving problems. It's also about interacting. It's also about making sure that the customer feels heard.
All
It's
right.
also about building a relationship because it needs to be a partnership, right?
All right.
So building a relationship is very important. So the mindset that the people that are going to be faced face to face with a customer needs to be correct.
Right.
It needs to be in the level that the company or the management actually feels like, okay, this is where, like, have the vision. The vision needs to be very clear.
Right.
So when you have a good vision, that's when you would know like how to deal with the customer.
Okay. That's interesting because I know a lot of people do not think that, dealing with customer service skills, develop skills in order to really like have the opportunity to really provide an excellent customer service experience is not mandatory. It's not like mission critical for the business. And this is really the reason why I always say, like, pay attention to the way your team, your staff deal with the customers, because
Okay.
they actually represent your business at the first place, right?
Exactly.
So what's the number one skill that you feel like this is like mandatory, this is like urgent for someone who deals with the customers to really develop, just to help them?
Mhm. One of the main things, one of the first things that I would say is have clear communication.
Okay.
Because, like I learned from you, a confused mind does not sell or buy.
Right.
Correct?
Exactly.
So basically, what that means is that if I don't have a clear communication, then how is my customer going to understand what I'm trying to sell? Correct? So
Right.
that's the first thing. You need to have clear communication, because clear communication is the top, top of that list. It's like a pyramid, right? So
Right.
on the top of it, it needs to have a clear communication. The second thing you need to have is problem solving skills.
Okay.
So you need to be able to solve the problem. I said that it's not only about problem solving, but it's also all about problem solving. Because if someone is seeking you for whatever reason it is, it's because they have a problem and they need you to solve that problem.
Right.
So your staff needs to have problem solving skills.
Mm.
And then one of the other things is that you need to have knowledge of your product.
Right. Yeah.
Like, yes, I can be very clear in communication. I can know, I could, have problem solving skills, but I need to know what I'm talking about. So I need to have a clear understanding of what is the product, what is the end game, what is it that the homeowner is seeking. So you actually need to have that as well. And you need to have like good, strong time management.
Mm.
Correct?
Yeah.
Because the longer you are with one homeowner, with one customer, the longer you are with this one person, there's like a few others that are still waiting. And people
Right.
are like, we live in this fast-paced world that everything's so fast. Everything is like microwave, right?
Right.
People don't want to do things in the stove anymore. People want it microwave and like 1 minute I'm done, right? So people need it to be a fast-paced environment. And the last thing, which I think is very important when dealing with a customer, again, it's like a pyramid, is have empathy.
Right.
I'm going back to empathy. You need to have it. Because if you don't have it, you're not gonna. And I think empathy also works hand in hand with patience. You need to have patience. So basically, you need to have both empathy and patience, because they work hand in hand. You need to be able to have patience, because sometimes things are not gonna go your way, and you need to have empathy because you also have to put yourself in the other person's shoes, because we are all customers somewhere, like I said.
Exactly.
Starting at home.
Yeah.
So basically, you need to be able to have the capacity of putting yourself in someone else's shoes. So that is, I'm so glad you're writing that. So it's the clear communication, problem solving, know the product, time management, empathy, and patience.
Good. That's very good. I want everybody listening or watching right now, like even if they watch the replay, just to make sure that they do not just listen, but they have also the opportunity to really implement the strategies that you will be sharing here when dealing with the customers, because most people think it's not important. And I have to just highlight one thing, one aspect here, which is that we do have internal customers and we do have external customers. Like
Yeah.
talk about it like when we actually work for a company, for a business, and if they have like different departments, different people working, even if they're not actually from in the same team, you know, but still, like usually it's like HR, for example, HR department, human resources, they usually provide services to the whole company, right? So we can consider, yeah, the whole um, team, other teams, colleagues, company as the internal customers. Is that right?
Exactly. So you have, like I said, like it starts at home. You go to the office. If you work in an office environment, you're dealing with your coworkers. For example, one department depends on the other department to do something for the team, to make the
Yep.
dream team kind of thing.
Right.
So basically, we're all customers somewhere. Like at home, you could be negotiating with your child, with your husband, with your wife. You go to the office, you're negotiating with HR, human resources. You want to work extra hours, you want to work less hours. That's like negotiating, right?
Right.
That is like you're a customer there. You're dealing with a different department. You expect them to give you some paperwork about something. You have to practice pretty much all the steps that you already wrote down because you're dealing with people. That is just dealing with people naturally. So for you, the earlier a company, a business is able to apply or train their employees with all these strategies, what is going to happen? It's going to be they're going to see a growth within the company, and that is also going to reflect in their numbers, right?
Right.
It's going to reflect in the numbers because then let me tell you, we work somewhere, but then we also need to be satisfied as human beings, right?
You're right.
So for us to be able to want to implement all those strategies about communication, about customer service strategies,
Sorry. Yeah.
we also need to be satisfied internally about where we are with our work. So
Okay.
no matter what that is.
Good. I just tell people that those like so-called customer service agents are actually the first closers of the business.
Exactly.
Yeah, they are the ones actually dealing with the customers, like the first contact, first point of contact and everything. So it's very like, because sometimes business owners do not understand why the business are not actually growing, are not actually like scaling big time, and they just usually tend to ignore the aspect, this actually like very important aspect, which is the way the customers are actually treated. Do you agree that customers are always right?
That is the $1,000,000 question.
Another one, you can have it.
Oh my God, is the customer always right?
Yeah.
People, no.
Okay.
We
Why?
know it's not right. They know they're not always right.
Why is that?
No, the customer is not always right because we're not perfect, right?
Right.
Only God is perfect. So the customer is not always right. However, the way we as customer service agents, we have to be the ones to deal with that. We have to know how to, maneuver around that.
Okay.
So basically, even though we know the customer is not always right, like how are you going to drop that information on the customer without offending the customer, without making them feel like they're not special? Because everybody likes to feel special.
I love
no
that.
matter where they are,
Yeah.
right? We all like it. We like it. We like when we go to a store. As a woman, I go to a store to buy shoes, for example, and I see one of the sales lady. She comes to me and she helps me. She's like, "Oh, the shoes look so nice in you," whatever she says, right?
Yeah.
All those things, it makes you feel good inside. But
Right.
sometimes, like sometimes I'm choosing something that doesn't, look good on me, right?
Yeah.
Again, that's a perspective. But then the customer, like you have to, as a salesperson, you have to also understand, like, how do I tell this person that it's not right for them? So you just have to be very clear communication. You have to be very precise about what you said. You have to be, again, please show the paper that you wrote all this information. You have to, exactly, there you go.
Clear communication.
We are definitely going to keep going back to this because I feel like that is the base of the customer service strategy. And no, so sorry, Elder, to simplify, no, the customer is not always right. It
Yeah.
is just the way that we, as the company, we have to know how to give that information without, knocking heads.
Yeah. And this like the fourth point or fourth step, I can call that the time management, which is in fact like self management, self leadership, right? Do you want to comment on that?
The fourth step, time management.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I didn't understand your question.
Well, the fourth step, the time management, which
Mhm.
ultimately we can call that self leadership, self management,
Exactly.
or even
Exactly.
better, we can actually call that as a priority management because well, time is time, but if we can actually manage efficiently the priorities that we have, we know like which one is the priority, which one is not a priority. And if you have different priorities, like how do you actually manage that? So if you want to comment on that, like based on your solid experience, like how do you actually deal with that? Because I think a lot of people can actually learn from your experience, right? So
Of course.
if you want to comment on that, like about the time management strategies, how to prioritize and stuff like that, because we have a global audience here, and we want everybody to actually have the opportunity to learn and
Of course.
hear from you.
hmm Okay, no problem. Time management for me, yeah, I think it's like one of those things that is like we learn every day from it. Um, so basically, it is like you basically already said it. It is prioritizing, from the most important task to the least important task, and what you do in between, basically, right?
Right.
So basically, not everything on your 24 hours is high priority. So you need to be able to know how to prioritize that. Again, I go back to mentoring because sometimes our minds are so clouded with so many things that we have like on our day-to-day life, basically.
Yeah.
And being able to have a mentor that will talk to you and try to break it down for you, organize it. I'm sorry, I'm not saying this because my husband is a mentor. I'm just saying this is just life.
Is your
It doesn't
husband a
need to be
mentor?
elder, it could be it doesn't need to be elder, it could be anyone that you choose.
Right.
But it is important to have that because they help you trying to like maintain, like unplug like all the things that you have in your head, in your mind. So being able to time manage, it's going to help you in short term, it's in long term, and just understanding how to prioritize things. It's going to change literally your life.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. I agree with that. Well, I'm not sure if you want to talk more about any other aspect here based on where we're at here. Well, the problem solving, knowing the product, because because you did an amazing job, breaking it down, and I think it makes it actually easier. We did not plan to do that actually, and I'm glad you did it because actually we didn't plan to do pretty much anything. Just have a conversation, just having a conversation, right? A clear, sincere, with integrity. We're just having a conversation. So we talked about the clear communication. I think it's clear for everybody that it's very important, like trying to be potentially short but very objective, straight to the point, but understanding who you're dealing with. Then the problem solving, I think, because the reason why I want you to talk a little bit more about the problem solving aspect is because yeah, you just mentioned it like so like well that business exists to really solve problems, but the customer service agent, the whoever deals with the customer directly, needs to have problem solving skills.
Exactly.
Do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, definitely. So I personally have worked for different industries. I've worked from like fast food restaurants, which was my first job, to
Okay.
like corporate world, where I was dealing with high executives as well.
C-level, right?
And sorry?
C-level executives.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. So I have worked with different types of customers. I have dealt with different types of problems, basically.
Right.
So problem solving, it is a skill, it's a life skill. Again, all of those skills are life skills because you need to be able to, because we all know life is not perfect. Life is always going to throw some things at you, you know?
Right.
And like they have a saying, when life throws you the lemon, do a lemonade.
Yeah.
Or tequila or whatever you drink. So, you know, so basically they would you need to be able to navigate through that. You need to be able to know, like, like for example, when you eat bread,
Mm.
when you're giving bread to a little kid, for example,
Right.
right? You're not gonna give the kid the big chunk of bread. You're gonna cut it into pieces,
Right.
right? You're gonna cut it into pieces and you're gonna give it to the child. So that is how you also need to do with problem solving. So problem could be that big bread, and you need to cut it into little pieces to solve it. To
Okay.
find out, okay, this is it, this is what I need to do, this is what you need to do. So that is a skill that you acquire in life, right?
Yep.
And you're going to be applying that into your customer service experiences as well. And I'm going to tell you something, honestly. I have always worked for customer service. I love it. I love working with working direct, face to face or whatever the issue is. I like dealing with customer service. That is my passion.
I can tell.
So basically, I have dealt with like customers that are extremely upset, extremely, to a point that I was like, oh, I cannot take this, and I needed a moment. And it's okay for you to have a moment, you know? It's okay for you to take a time out. If you feel like it's just too much, because some customers are too much, you need to have, like, and that is a problem solving skill.
Yeah.
Because if I keep going in this direction,
Yeah.
it's not going to end well.
Right.
So instead of you getting agitated, you bring yourself down, you take yourself out of the situation. And one of the things that is very important when it comes to problem solving, don't take it personal. It's not
Okay.
about you.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I know you love doing that, and I'm really
I
proud of
know.
you. Like, yeah, I have to say, I'm proud of you because you're really good at that. That's I know.
Thank you.
And mainly if you consider that I'm also your customer, the way you deal with me. Okay, that's very good. Going back to our list here, know the product, the third step. Know the product. Yeah, I love that too. So this is really the reason why I want you to talk a little bit more about it. And so people can actually understand how important it is to really understand and know the product. In other words, know the solutions that your business has. I mean, for the customers.
Of course. Like you say all the time, I'm sorry I'm quoting you all the time, but I'm used to you.
It's okay. I'm used to you. I'm kidding.
So basically, like you say, confused mind cannot sell or buy. So
Right.
if you don't know what you're selling, no one is gonna buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you don't
Love
know
that.
what you're saying, no one is gonna hear it.
Right.
Because we live in this world that is like so full of like
Information.
He's saying so much information that we get information everywhere.
Exactly.
Everywhere. So basically, for you to be able to know your product, and you need to speak so passionately about it first.
Right.
Because you have to be your first customer.
Mm.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
You have to be your first customer, because I need to convince me first before I sell you anything. I have to know what the product is, no matter what I'm selling. For example, if I'm selling this pen, I have to make sure that this pen it is what I say it is. I have to know how this pen works. I need to know, okay, if I do it this way, I know it's gonna come out the point, so I can write it. So if I need to know what this pen is about before I sell it to you. So I need to have knowledge of this. And there's so much knowledge. There is so much information out there. So much information out there. So please know your product before you sell your product, because if you confuse minds, cannot sell or buy.
That's right. Wow, I love that. And just to add something else to here to this subject, because it's very, very important, because sometimes we just think like, okay, I want to charge more. I want to close like premium high ticket. But the thing is that if you do not know your product, your service, your solution, wherever it is, like you want to call that, it's really hard. And you just mentioned it, like you are your first customer. It's like,
Yeah.
because people think it's really funny because we actually talked about it, like I think a few weeks ago, I think, because it's really hard. People don't really invest time to really understand their business, their solution they're actually providing. And they find that they wonder why they cannot actually close other people, sell their product or service, the solution. But one of the strategies based on what you just said, like trying to summarize that, is that they do not realize and consider themselves as their first customer. In other words, it's like
Exactly.
because they have a hard time to close themselves to really like close the product to yourself. If you cannot close your service, your product, your solution to yourself, how do you think you're going to close to other people?
Exactly.
But
And
of
let me tell you, sorry to cut you off,
Go
Elvin.
ahead, go ahead.
But if you don't know what you're selling, like the customer senses it.
Yeah.
You know, they can feel it.
Mm.
They're like, no, I don't believe this. You
Right,
know,
right,
I know
right.
you can do something about that. You tell the customer, oh, this is like $50, for
Yeah.
example, or whatever currency. But if you tell the customer this is $50, and then the customer like, why? What makes this $50? And you say things like, I don't know, let me find out, you know?
Yeah.
Then you come back and you tell the customer, oh, it's $50 because it's made in America, or it's made in whatever country you want it to be made at, right?
Right.
The customer's like, no, I can only pay 40. Come on, you know?
Mm.
Because he didn't believe what you didn't know your product. So why should I buy it at $50?
Yeah.
Like, let me devalue your product, you know?
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it. You need to know it, you need to believe it, and then that's when you bring it out there.
And to really understand the true value that you have to offer, that you have to add, because people have a hard time to really understand the true value. They feel like, okay, for example, I'm selling a pen. Are you really selling a pen? Why a pen? What can people do with a pen? Like, how important is for someone, for an executive, for example, have like, well, we can talk brands. I love Mont Blanc, for example. How important can it be, like, for an executive to have like a Mont Blanc pen, for example? Like things like that. People really do not invest time usually to really understand the business, understand the value they actually add, and so on. But well, it's your turn. And what about the empathy? I think that was the last point you mentioned. Empathy and patience, Yeah. How do you like describe or break it down for everybody to understand how they can actually, what strategy they can actually use in order to succeed when dealing with customers?
Well, the definition of empathy is putting yourself pretty much in someone else's shoes.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Would you want this to happen to me?
Mhm.
Would you want this? Like, would I like this happen to me?
Yeah.
Would I be okay if somebody talked to me like this? Would I be okay if somebody screamed at me like that?
Mm.
So it is having that ability for you to be able to put yourself in literally on someone else's shoes.
Right.
Right? That is empathy, right? You need to be able to have that when you're dealing with a customer, right? You need to
Great.
be like, okay, the customer got overcharged about something.
Right.
You can feel like, wow, like, would I be okay if they charge me this? Because the moment you put yourself in someone else's shoes, your ability to help that person, even your problem solving skill, it will determine that.
Okay.
The way you're going to try to resolve the issue for that customer is going to be different.
All right.
Right? You need to be able, and one thing that is very important that sorry, I keep looking down because I wrote some notes down.
That's very
right?
good. That's very good. That's very good. That's very
Yes.
good.
So you need one of the biggest problems that a lot of people have is that they don't understand who the customers are.
Hmm.
You know, so you need to understand who is my customer. What does my customer like? You know,
Yeah.
how can I? Because it's a lot. Like if, for example, you have I don't know, like a hair salon. I have a hair
Yeah,
salon
you
in
have.
Dollhouse.
It's
I'm
in
sorry,
Angola,
I have
right?
to say it. In Angola, I have a hair
No, no.
salon, a
By the way,
barber, else.
I don't need. I don't like. I did not want to like cut you out, but you should not be sorry because understand that you provide, even though you're not there in Angola, but you sell solution to people, helping them like
Definitely.
look beautiful and feel confident with
Yeah,
themselves, right? So you should not be sorry
exactly.
about it. You can mention it's okay. You know,
All right.
that's your
Well, thank
business.
you for the opportunity, Elder. So everybody, I do have a hair salon. You should look it up on. We have a page on Instagram and on Facebook. It is Dollhouse underscore salon underscore Angola. The phone number is 244-948-351-115.
Yeah.
They have beautiful hair, beautiful braids. They do beautiful nails. That is in Angola, Luanda. Shout out. A big kiss to everybody there. So going back, sorry, had to
Mm,
drop it in there. So basically, one thing is that not understanding who your customer is a big problem.
right.
Lack of consistent communication is a big problem. So all that would fall under the empathy
Now we have
and
questions here.
patience.
Oh, we have
We
comments
do.
here. By the way, we know we started having comments here. And sorry, I just want to make sure everybody knows that they can actually, put in comments here in the chat their questions if they have, because we actually like about to start the Q&A session, moment as as soon as you're
Okay.
done talking, like explaining about the empathy and patience. Feel free, and thank you, Ngumbu, who's actually making comments here. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I did not want to cut you off, but I had to because I have to
No, don't
acknowledge the
worry.
people
Don't
here
worry.
investing their time to watch it and learn from it, and really, collaborate with us. Yep.
Okay.
So
Well,
the patients, like, do you think that both empathy and the patience are actually related to the self control, self management? Well, people may call that emotional intelligence, wherever it is. Do you feel that?
do I think that sorry, this cut off a little bit, so I didn't hear you.
It's okay. We having few internet issues sometimes, but about the empathy and the patience, do you think that the self control, self management, well, some people call that the emotional intelligence, are actually related as well to the when it comes to the empathy and the patience?
Oh yeah, definitely. That is all part of it.
Good.
Having self-control is it goes hand in hand with this basically. So you need to be able as a human being before
Oh,
anything,
mom is
you need
here.
to be able to have self. Oh yeah.
Mom Philomena is here. She's watching as well.
The kids.
She's the one managing the dollhouse salon in Luanda
Yes, she is.
and doing
Yes,
a
she
great
is.
job. She's really good. Anyway,
Yeah.
so
Mm-hmm.
with that being said, because we were actually while we're waiting for the questions, I just want to summarize here all these points that you brilliantly broke down, and I just want to add, like, if you agree and if you don't mind, something I love, and we actually live by that as well.
Oh yeah,
Integrity.
definitely.
Yeah, because the clear communication come from the heart, with open mind, open heart. Tell the truth always. The problem solving. Be honest. Be like have integrity when you talk about your product or service. And really have the right intention to really, sorry, really like solve the problem. Know the product. Yeah, again, tell the truth. Like be honest with yourself first. Then like have integrity. The time management. Be real, because sometimes people just want to assume that they can actually do pretty much everything where they cannot do it.
Exactly.
And the empathy, the patience. Yeah, well, I think like pretty much all these points in all of these points, these tabs that you brilliantly like broke down, like we can definitely have the integrity because it's someone doing that, and as a person, we should definitely have integrity.
Exactly, everything.
I love that.
Definitely.
So do we
Yeah.
have questions? Let's see if we have questions here. Any comments here? Who do we have here? Well, we have a few comments here, not actually questions, which I think it potentially means that everybody's actually clear about what you're saying, what you're explaining here. And I just want to
Amen.
summarize. I want to summarize and highlight actually that dealing with the customers, have the right intention to really solve the customer's problem. If you cannot, it's okay to say no. We don't provide this kind of solutions. We don't have the solution that you're looking for. Some people feel like, okay, we can never say, like, tell a customer that we can actually solve their problem.
Yeah.
This is one of the reasons why I brought down like the integrity. If you have integrity in what you do, in who you are, you have to be honest with yourself and with other people and tell the truth and say, well, you know what, the solution that you're actually looking for, I don't have that solution. What we have is this one. Because there's like two things here. One thing is you say, well, no, we don't have it. The other thing is say, well, we unfortunately we do not have this solution specifically. What we have, I'm not sure if it works, if it helps somehow. We have this solution. Like again, this is all dealing with the customers, and you mentioned that brilliantly, that we have internal customers. It starts at home. When we deal with people, the way we communicate, the way we talk with to people, it's very, very important. And if we did not develop these skills, looking forward to enhance, to get better, it gets even harder in the business side, business environment, corporate environment, job, wherever it is, to really succeed dealing with the customers. And by the end of the day, we have to remember that we actually are representing a business. And we talk about the customer service strategies for business growth. So it means that if the customer does not have like let's say an amazing experience, like they do not love the way they treat it, they taken care of, they just do not come back to invest in your business. No revenue. Is that right?
Yeah, no, definitely. That is definitely right. Yes, building customers' loyalty to personalized experience, proactive customer support, and effective communication channels. Should be
Love
our
that.
goal, right?
I love that.
So you need to have like customer loyalty to like make sure that every customer feels like they are unique. They're the only customers that we have.
Right.
So basically, that is the main goal. Everyone needs to feel satisfied.
Good.
Both the business and the customer.
Okay. I love that. I love that. Well, it's a pleasure. I know like we have a lot to talk about, but we're not going to do it today because we have other things to do. But I want everyone watching right now to feel free to ask questions in the chat, regardless of the platform they're actually watching, because exceptionally today, we are live on three different platforms. We are, of course, the main one is the YouTube channel, Helder the Mentor, and we are also live on the Facebook and LinkedIn. Okay, so please think and rethink about your customer service strategies, because it really means a lot. It tells a lot about your business, about the solution that you have. You can you can say, well, we are the best, but yeah, are you also the best in taking care of the customers, even though they're not always right, Leila?
Exactly. And like Kobe Bryant used to say, for you to be the best, you have to win.
Exactly.
You can't be the best and be in second place.
Exactly.
So,
I love that. I agree. I could
how
not
do
agree
you
more.
win? You have to win by
Yeah.
maintaining those customers. So
Yeah.
yes.
Even though we're here, like we're talking, we're laughing, but it's a very serious like subject, because
It is.
you mentioned
It really is. It's very
yeah,
it's very important, it's very pertinent, and it's something that it affects us in all levels.
right.
So it is very very important for us to be able to have that kind of conversation, for us to look into our businesses and understand that what is going wrong, what
Yeah.
is going right, do more of that,
Yeah.
and then something that is going great. So we have to understand where the balance is so that we are able to make those changes, and we need to be able to be open to adapting to these changes as well, because one of the things that I really don't like that businesses do
Yeah.
is oh, we always did it this way. No,
Mm.
things change, life evolves,
Right.
so you need to adapt to it, like for example, you have Facebook then became like Instagram, then there's like WhatsApp, like they're like evolving, they're adapting to what people needs are.
Mhm.
So basically, imagine like a company as big as Facebook's doing all that, and then what about us? Like we have to imitate. Like life is all about imitation of, that's what it is. So we have to see what other people are doing good so that we can do it ourselves. So that's pretty much it.
Right. What do you do not recommend someone dealing with customers to do?
Basically everything, everything the opposite of what I said.
I love the way you answered that. I know you did not expect, right?
Yeah, and so I think one of the biggest mistakes that I think that happens when dealing with a customer, I think I wrote this as well, but one of the biggest mistakes that it is that a lot of businesses do is they how do I say this? They forget why they're
Mm.
there.
Okay.
They become so used to doing things a certain way that they forget like what is it. Like I was just having a conversation with you a few days ago, about how I follow certain people on Instagram,
Right.
like these influencers.
Mm.
And I told you, I was like, because I'm following you, I'm your customer, right?
Right.
So basically, I feel like you need to be able to keep certain things are like basic, I am following you because you do hair.
Yeah.
Now you start changing your stuff. Now you're not doing hair anymore. You're showing me about you're showing me about other things that have nothing to do with hair. So it kind of goes like, for example, like but that like they forget that like what the base is.
Exactly.
So like I gave you the example of Facebook that then went to Instagram, then it's like WhatsApp or whatever, whichever came first. So like they doing this evolving thing, yes, things change, but then they didn't forget the base,
Right.
because Facebook is not really losing customers. So basically that was their base. So for example, if I'm following you and I feel like that when people see so many big numbers, they want to change. They want to change. Now they don't want to talk about this. Now they want to show off. Now they want to do that.
Yeah.
So they forget the base, and then the people that have been with you from day one, those are your loyal customers, right?
Right.
Those are the people that are there with you through thick and thin. So you want to make sure those people are the ones that you maintain happy, the ones that you keep happy. So those are your base, right?
Right.
So I think one of the biggest problem that I see happening in businesses is that they forget who their base is.
Yeah.
Right? They go different ways and they completely forget that. And that confuses the customer. And we all know a confused mind does not buy or sell.
Exactly.
So that's it.
This is no, that's very important that you just mentioned, and it was really good because, and you talk about now like business owners in general, like you talk about influencers. We're not saying here, I want it to be very clear, like for everyone, we're not saying here that people should not evolve, they cannot never change like the business or wherever. But it's like if you do change, if you do rebrand, like communicate clearly, inform that okay, well, we're migrating from this business to that business, or we just adding more services, so people can actually understand and potentially relate to what you're doing actually. But again, the communication, the clear communication, the strategic communication part side of things is really, really important, because again, if your customers are not clear, they're just not going to buy. They're not going to buy.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you're not going to sell. Yeah. That's very good.
And
That's
that's when
amazing.
you get a lot of complaints. That's when you get a lot of unhappy people. That's when you
Right.
get because you don't know what's happening at this point, because you are so lost. It goes back to what you wrote, knowing your product, knowledge of your product. Because now you have to need to educate your base basically. But yes, you can do that. But then you're going to lose a lot in it, because that goes to your integrity. That goes to there's a lot of things that are going to be changing there.
Yeah.
So you just have to make sure your base is very well defined.
Yeah. We're going to have a hard stop, I think, in 5 minutes, max, because we're
Right.
hitting like the 1 hour time. But another thing,
Really? It's been an hour? That's
it's
crazy.
been an hour. I think you like it, right? You're loving it, the experience.
That's fine. Thank you so much, Elder the mentor.
No more complaints. But still, like another aspect about the business growth related to the customer service. I've seen many entrepreneurs, business owners feel like, okay, I don't have to deal with the customers. Like even like when the customer comes to them to talk to them, to ask for information, they just automatically drive them to their team, for example. Oh, this is our customer service specialist. You can talk to her. You can talk to him. So I would say that because of the lack of of strategic communication skills and the mindset as well, that even some business owners have, they actually kind of like fear. I'm not sure about your experience, and I cannot wait for you to share if you have one. I believe you do. Like they just do not want to deal with the customers at all. Like even like if you're like in an event, for example, someone comes to you, talk to you about your service or product, you just, as a business owner, do you recommend that they just I would say they just send them to the customer service specialist or wherever, without even like trying to understand, trying to deal with the customers, like have a conversation with the customer? Do you recommend that business owners like do that actually, instead of really like talking to the customer, understanding, like using the customer service skills, which is ultimately like the mindset and the communication skills they should have as well? Do you recommend the business owners do that, or you actually recommend that they actually engage the client, the customer?
Oh, they definitely need to engage. Basically, the homeowner wants to have that personalized. I like I said it before already. We all like to feel special.
Right.
Imagine, like we all like to feel special. So basically, if you go to if you have a manager, you have like like a VP or something,
Oh.
and and you're in a business setting, and one of the customers goes and talks to them like, no, you speak to Leila, she's the customer service rep, pretty much,
Yeah.
that will make that customer feel like it's not important.
Mhm.
It's gonna make them feel like they're not being heard. I could probably solve their problem, but if they're already talking to you, you can probably bring in somebody else. Like you can bring Layla into the conversation,
Right.
and then be like, oh, Layla, like this customer is saying this and this. What do you think?
Mhm.
And then I can, have that solution. But like, it's like a team thing. It's a team.
Teamwork.
It's a team thing. It's a
Okay.
teamwork.
Okay.
There is no I in team, right?
Yeah.
So it's a teamwork. So basically, everyone has to play their role.
Exactly. So you really recommend, with over 20 years of experience, solid experience, do you really recommend that even business owners, mainly business owners, have and develop these customer service skills, like to be more specific, the clear communication? I call that the strategic communication, of course, but at the end of the day, it's still a communication that needs to be clear, and also the mindset, because some of them, it's not just they don't want to do it. It's like it's more about the fear they have of making a mistake, of not being good. so like enough in order to deal with the customers, right? Not providing like the right information and so on. Yeah. So business owners,
everybody needs to be involved. So
yeah, it's important. And as a business owner, as the CEO, as the administrator, like wherever title, like wherever like position that you actually assuming, if a customer comes to you, it's really definitely important for you to like to engage, at least to engage the customer, and then bring someone else, like let's say the customer specialist, customer service specialist, into the conversation in order to like to moving forward, to provide even more details, because we have to understand sometimes they might not have all the details, right? Good.
Yes, of course.
Amazing. So
That was
I think we're
good.
done. It was a very, very interesting conversation with you.
I agree.
I thank
agree
you.
with that.
Thank you for for accepting, and being here. And I think
Thank you.
you added significant value, not because you're my wife, of course, but because you're a brilliant professional that you are. When I met you, you were already a brilliant professional, and I can tell you love dealing with customers, with people in general, and you're really good at that. Yeah, but
Thank you.
yeah, I think in closing, do you have anything else to say?
Oh, I actually have here a closing remark. Basically, all I want to say is that, well, at first I want to thank you, Elder. Thank you for the invite. Thank you for having me here on the show today. If anyone has questions, they can always reach out to you,
Sure.
and you will send it to me. But I am open for this type of conversations, because it's something that I'm very passionate about.
Right.
It is something that I feel like I am good at it. So, and that is not something, I didn't become good at it because I did it for a month. I have been doing this for over 20 years, like you said.
You're right.
So this is something that I've gained a lot of experience in it. So I feel like I am okay. Not too bad to talk about this information.
Right.
So please make sure that when dealing with a customer, start with the people in your house, and then the world out there.
Right.
Because it's a cruel world, and you want more love and more peace and everything. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Good, good. Well, since we don't have many questions, I think we're gonna have later, like, because remember, it's gonna be like the replay is gonna be on the YouTube channel, Helder the Mentor. People can always go there, sure, watch with their families. If you're a business owner, if you're like, no, I don't own a business, but still, remember we talked about you having like internal customers and external customers. Internal customers,
Exactly.
your co-workers, the people you work with, they are also your internal customers. And Leila just mentioned that it starts in the house, starts like when you deal with your family, the way you communicate,
Exactly.
the way you listen to them, active listening, the way you ask questions, it all starts there. And if you train, if you do it properly, it gets easier for you to deal with other people outside of your family, or your most like common environment, the people you actually hang out and you actually deal more often with. So with that being said, I think we don't have questions here. I want to thank everyone watching the show, the Communicate, the Monetize show. We will potentially have Leila more often here on the show, and maybe why not doing actually also in the Portuguese, which is another show, the Impact My Career show. So we it's okay. We're going to talk about it later, but I just want to thank everyone watching like live, and even those who are going to watch the replay. Please do not forget to invest in yourself. Okay?
Yes.
We speak different languages, but it's not because we just thought about it, but because we thought about learning new language and we actually took action. Take action. Do not just learn. Learn, implement, take action, so you can actually see the growth. Otherwise, nothing's going to happen and no one can do it for you. I cannot do it for my mentees. I can do it with them, but I cannot do it for them. Okay? Thank you once again, and I see you the next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.